Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in life when the weight of the world seems too much to bear, when the darkness feels unending and every step forward feels like a struggle. But it is in these very moments that God works His greatest wonders. You may be standing at the edge of a breakthrough right now, even if everything around you suggests otherwise. You see, God often chooses our lowest points to reveal His highest purposes. It's during the most challenging times that He draws us closer, molds our character, and strengthens our faith. Perhaps you have prayed for answers, for healing, for a sign, and perhaps you've waited in silence, feeling abandoned or overlooked. But let me tell you, God's silence is never His absence. He is always at work, orchestrating things in your favor, even when you cannot see it. God's power is not limited by your circumstances. His love is not hindered by your past mistakes. His plan for your life is greater than any obstacle that stands before you. All He asks is for your trust. Sometimes we must walk through the valley to appreciate the beauty of the mountaintop. Trials are not meant to break us, but to build us, to shape us into the individuals we are destined to be. If you are facing challenges today, I want you to remember this. God has not forgotten you. He has not abandoned you. In fact, He is preparing something extraordinary for your life. What you see as a setback, He sees as a setup for a greater purpose. It is not by accident that you are here hearing these words. This is your confirmation. This is your sign. God is about to change your life in ways you never imagined. So, stand firm. Hold on to your faith. Embrace the journey, for the best is yet to come. Faith is often easiest to embrace when life is smooth, when the sun shines brightly and our paths seem clear. But true faith is not forged in moments of ease. It is tested and strengthened through trials, doubts, and uncertainty. When the storms of life rage and the ground beneath us feels shaky, it's easy to question everything we once believed. It's natural to feel overwhelmed, confused, or even lost. Yet it is precisely in these moments of doubt and despair that faith can reveal its greatest power. Imagine standing in the midst of a storm, rain pouring down, thunder roaring, and darkness thick all around you. It's hard to see the way forward, hard to believe that the sun will ever shine again. The weight of your burdens feels unbearable, and hope seems like a distant memory. But faith, true faith, is not about having all the answers. It's not about having perfect clarity or understanding every twist and turn of your journey. It's about trusting even when everything around you suggests you shouldn't. Holding on to faith in times of doubt requires a resilience that transcends logic or reason. It calls for a trust so deep that even when your eyes see only darkness, your heart believes in light. It is a conviction that even when the world tells you it's over, God is telling you it's just the beginning. Faith whispers promises of hope and healing when everything else feels broken. It stands as a silent force, unyielding and unshaken, urging you to press on even when you feel you cannot take another step. It is in these moments of profound doubt and hardship that faith can unlock divine blessings and guidance. You see, God's wisdom is far beyond human comprehension. His ways are higher, His timing perfect, but His methods often defy our understanding. The very struggles that bring us to our knees are often the catalysts for the greatest blessings. What feels like rejection can be God's redirection. What appears to be a loss can be the opening for a new beginning. Faith has the power to transform our darkest hours into testimonies of resilience and triumph. When we choose to trust, even when doubt is screaming in our ears, we open ourselves to the possibility of miracles. Faith doesn't eliminate the trials, but it gives us the strength to face them. It provides a perspective that rises above the chaos, allowing us to see glimpses of God's purpose even when the path ahead remains uncertain. But faith is not passive. It is not simply waiting for God to act while we sit idle. Faith is active, persistent, and determined, It is a daily choice to keep believing, to keep trusting, even when everything within us wants to give up. It's the courage to take one more step when the journey feels impossible. It's the willingness to pray even when the answers seem delayed. It's the decision to praise even when the blessings feel withheld. The journey of faith is not about perfection. It's not about having a flawless record of unwavering belief. It's about holding on even when your grip feels weak. It's about acknowledging your fears and doubts, but choosing to trust anyway. God doesn't expect you to never question, never struggle, but He does invite you to bring your doubts to Him, to lay your burdens at His feet, and to allow His strength to uphold you when yours is failing. In times of doubt, faith is the anchor that keeps you grounded. It prevents you from being swept away by the waves of fear and uncertainty. And the beautiful truth is that God's blessings are often hidden within the very trials that threaten to break us. When we cling to faith despite our doubts, we open the door to divine guidance and intervention. God sees beyond your present circumstances. He sees the pain, the confusion, the sleepless nights. But He also sees the growth, the strength, the character being built through every struggle. He sees the person you are becoming, the purpose you are moving toward. And His desire is not just to remove your burdens, but to empower you to rise above them. Faith is the bridge that connects your present struggles to your future victories. It's the light that guides you through the darkness, the strength that carries you when you feel too weak to continue. It's the assurance that God's plans for you are good, even when life feels anything but good. And it's the unwavering trust that His love for you is constant, even when you can't feel it. In moments of doubt, remember that faith doesn't eliminate the difficulties. It gives you the power to endure them. It's the quiet assurance that even when everything seems to be falling apart, God is still holding you together. His guidance may not always come in the ways you expect, but it is always present. Sometimes the most profound blessings are born from the deepest struggles. Faith is not about avoiding the storms, but learning to trust God through them. It's about believing that even when the night is long and the road is rough, His hand is guiding you. His presence is with you, and His promises remain true. Even in times of doubt, faith can unlock the blessings and guidance you need to keep moving forward. Surrender is a word that often feels uncomfortable to our human nature. It suggests letting go of control, of yielding our desires and plans to something greater than ourselves. And for many, the very idea of surrender feels like defeat, like giving up on dreams or abandoning hope. But true surrender is not about giving up. It is about giving over. It is about entrusting our burdens, fears, and uncertainties into the hands of a loving and all-powerful God. It is about allowing His divine plan to unfold even when it doesn't align with our own expectations or timelines. The power of surrender lies not in weakness, but in strength. It is a conscious choice to release the grip we so tightly hold on our circumstances, our worries, our desires, and even our pain. It is an act of faith that acknowledges our limitations and embraces God's sovereignty. Surrender is the bridge between our struggle and His provision, our confusion and His wisdom, our pain and His healing. When we surrender to God, we are not abandoning our hopes or resigning ourselves to failure. Instead, we are positioning ourselves to receive His guidance, His peace, and His miracles. So often we strive to solve problems through our own strength and understanding. We wrestle with situations that feel beyond our control, trying desperately to fix what is broken or force outcomes that simply aren't meant to be. And in the process, we exhaust ourselves, growing weary and discouraged. But when we surrender, something profound begins to happen. We shift our focus from the chaos of our circumstances to the certainty of God's presence. We release the weight of trying to control everything and instead invite Him to take control. It is in this release that miracles can unfold. God's power is not limited by our struggles, but Our stubbornness can hinder His work in our lives. When we let go, we make room for Him to move in ways we never could have imagined. Surrender does not mean that we stop praying or stop working toward our goals. It does not mean we become passive or indifferent to the challenges we face. Rather, it means that we approach life with an open heart and a willing spirit. It means that we trust God's timing even when it seems delayed, and His methods even when they seem confusing. It means acknowledging that His ways are higher than our ways, and His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. One of the greatest barriers to surrender is fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of losing what we hold dear. We cling tightly to what feels safe and familiar, even if it is causing us pain. We convince ourselves that holding on is a sign of strength, when in reality, true strength is found in the ability to release. To surrender is not to give in to fear, but to rise above it. It is to place our trust in a God who sees the end from the beginning, who knows our hearts and our needs far better than we do. When we surrender our worries and fears to God, we are essentially saying, I trust you more than I trust myself. I believe that you have a plan even when I cannot see it. I trust that your love for me is constant, even when I feel unworthy. This kind of surrender is not an act of defeat, it is an act of courage. It is the willingness to walk by faith rather than by sight. And when we do, miracles truly begin to unfold. Sometimes the miracle is a change in our circumstances. Other times it is a change within us. It may be the gift of peace in the midst of turmoil, or strength when we feel utterly depleted. It may be the unexpected answer to a long-standing prayer, or the gentle reassurance that God is still working, even in the silence. Surrendering to God does not mean that we will never face hardship or pain. It does not mean that life will always go the way we hope or expect. But it does mean that we can face whatever comes with a confidence that is rooted in His faithfulness. It means that we can find rest in His presence, knowing that He is in control, even when everything feels out of control. The act of surrender is a process, not a one-time decision. It requires us to continually release our burdens to God, to place our trust in Him anew each day. It requires humility and patience, as well as a willingness to let go of our own desires when they conflict with His will. It requires faith that God's plans are good, even when they differ from our own. And yet, the beauty of surrender is that it leads to freedom. Freedom from the constant striving and struggling. Freedom from the fear that holds us back. Freedom to live fully and abundantly in the purpose God has designed for us. When we surrender, we are no longer bound by our own limitations. Instead, we are empowered by His limitless grace and strength. Miracles are not always grand displays of divine intervention. Sometimes they are the quiet, unseen shifts that occur within our hearts when we choose to trust God. Sometimes they are the moments of peace that come when we release our anxieties to Him. Sometimes they are the unexpected doors that open when we finally stop trying to force our way through the wrong ones. God's power is made perfect in our weakness. His grace is sufficient even when we feel inadequate. And when we surrender our worries and fears to Him, we allow His strength to be made manifest in our lives. It is not about giving up, it is about giving Him the space to work. It is about trusting Him enough to say, I release this to you. I trust you with it all. Trials are an inevitable part of life. No one is immune to pain, hardship, or moments of deep struggle. We all face seasons when the weight of our burdens feels crushing, when every effort seems to meet resistance, and when hope feels like a distant dream. But while trials are often seen as setbacks or obstacles, they are in truth opportunities for transformation. They are moments designed to refine, strengthen, and prepare us for something greater. Pain is never without purpose. It is not merely a cruel twist of fate or a punishment for past mistakes. Rather, it is a tool that God uses to mold and shape us into the individuals we are meant to be. Just as a diamond is formed under immense pressure, so too are we shaped and strengthened through the pressures of life. It is through our struggles that our character is developed, our faith is deepened, and our resilience is fortified. In the midst of trials, it is easy to focus solely on the pain and overlook the potential for growth. It is natural to question why hardship is occurring, to feel frustrated, hurt, or even abandoned. But what if the very struggles we face are part of a greater plan? What if they are preparing us for a purpose beyond our current understanding? The process of transformation is rarely comfortable, but it is always purposeful. Trials have a way of revealing who we truly are. They strip away the superficial and force us to confront our deepest fears, insecurities, and doubts. They expose our weaknesses, but also illuminate our strength. They challenge us to dig deeper, to push beyond our perceived limitations, and to tap into a reservoir of strength we may not have known we possessed. In moments of hardship, we often discover resilience that only emerges when all other options have been exhausted. Through trials, we learn valuable lessons that cannot be gained through comfort or ease. We learn patience when answers are delayed. We learn humility when our own efforts fall short. We learn empathy when we encounter pain similar to what others are experiencing. And above all, we learn to trust God's plan, even when it is beyond our comprehension. The refining process is not meant to break us, but to build us. It is a process that requires time, perseverance, and faith. Just as gold is purified through fire, our souls are purified through adversity. Every setback, every disappointment, and every tear is part of the process. It is in these moments of vulnerability and struggle that we are drawn closer to God, that our reliance on Him becomes more genuine and profound. When trials arise, it is tempting to resist them, to pray for immediate relief or a swift resolution. And while there is nothing wrong with desiring deliverance, it is also important to recognize that growth often comes through enduring rather than escaping. It is through the very act of persevering through hardship that we are strengthened. Our endurance is built through each step forward, no matter how difficult or painful the journey may be. Resilience is not something that is granted overnight. It is cultivated through experience, through the willingness to press on even when the path is rough. The challenges you face today are preparing you for victories yet to come. They are equipping you with the tools, the wisdom, and the strength you will need to fulfill your purpose. Without the trials, there would be no growth. Without the pain, there would be no progress. God's purpose for your life is not derailed by hardship. In fact, He often uses those very hardships to propel you toward your destiny. The pain you endure today may be the very thing that prepares you for the blessings of tomorrow. It may be the foundation upon which your greatest achievements are built. It may be the catalyst that propels you toward a future filled with purpose and fulfillment. Trials also have a way of deepening our faith. When all else fails, when every other option has been exhausted, we are left with a choice: to give in to despair or to place our trust in God. It is in these moments of desperation that faith becomes real. It is no longer a mere concept or philosophy. It is a lifeline. It is the assurance that God is with us even in the darkest of times. Moreover, the trials we face are not only about our personal growth, they also prepare us to be a source of encouragement and strength for others. The pain you endure equips you with empathy and understanding that can be used to uplift those who are struggling. Your testimony of perseverance and faith can become a beacon of hope for someone else. Your scars can serve as reminders that healing is possible, that restoration is real. Sometimes the greatest blessings are found on the other side of our most painful trials. What once seemed like an insurmountable obstacle can become the very thing that propels us toward greatness. The journey may be difficult, but the destination is worth every struggle. The strength you gain through hardship is a strength that cannot be taken away. It is a strength that endures. a strength that empowers you to face whatever lies ahead. Transformation through trials is not immediate. It is a process that requires faith, patience, and perseverance. It requires the willingness to trust that God is at work even when His presence feels distant. It requires the belief that every setback is part of a greater plan, a plan designed to bring you closer to the purpose He has prepared for you. Every tear, every heartbreak, every sleepless night is part of your refining process. And while it may feel overwhelming in the moment, it is ultimately working for your good. God's purpose for your life is far greater than the pain you are experiencing. Your trials are not without meaning. They are building strength, resilience, and wisdom within you. They are preparing you for something greater than you can imagine. Hope is a powerful force, one that sustains us through the darkest of times and lifts us when the weight of the world feels unbearable. It is the quiet assurance that even when everything appears lost, there is still a reason to press on. Hope is not just a feeling, it is a choice. A choice to believe in something greater than what our eyes can see or what our minds can comprehend. It is the decision to trust that God's timing is perfect even when it feels impossibly delayed. In life, there are seasons of waiting, periods when progress seems non-existent, when prayers appear unanswered, and when our efforts feel fruitless. During these times, it is easy to grow weary, to doubt, to feel as if our journey has reached a dead end. The human tendency is to equate delay with denial, to assume that silence means abandonment. But God's timing operates beyond our understanding. It is neither hurried nor delayed. It is precise, purposeful, and perfectly aligned with His divine will. There are moments when it feels as though everything is falling apart. Dreams are shattered, relationships are strained, and circumstances seem to conspire against us. It is in these moments that hope feels most distant, like a flickering candle in a storm. Yet it is precisely during these times of despair that hope must be held onto most fiercely. God's plan is not thwarted by our hardships. Rather, He often uses those very hardships to set the stage for something greater. What appears to be an ending is often a new beginning ordained by His will. Just as a seed must be buried in darkness before it can sprout and grow, so too are we often placed in seasons of difficulty to prepare us for new opportunities. The darkness is not a place of death, but a preparation. The waiting is not purposeless, but filled with potential. When it feels like everything is coming to an end, God may be orchestrating a new chapter that far exceeds anything we could have imagined. Hope requires patience. It requires trusting in God's timing rather than our own. So often we become frustrated because our plans are not unfolding according to our expectations. We grow anxious, wondering if our prayers are being heard or if our efforts are in vain. But God's perspective is far greater than ours. He sees what we cannot see. He understands what we cannot comprehend. And His timing, though mysterious to us, is always perfect. The journey of faith is not always smooth. It is filled with detours, obstacles, and moments of doubt. But each step, no matter how difficult, is part of a larger plan. God is not confined by our timelines or limited by our understanding. What may seem like a delay is often a divine setup for something beyond our comprehension. It is in the waiting that our character is refined, our faith is strengthened, and our resilience is built. Sometimes God's greatest blessings come not when we expect them, but when we least expect them. They arrive not according to our schedule, but according to His. And often they are far greater than anything we could have planned for ourselves. The job that didn't work out, the relationship that ended, the door that closed. What if those disappointments were not rejections, but redirections? What if they were part of a greater purpose that God is carefully unfolding in His perfect time? When life feels overwhelming and hope seems elusive, it is important to remember that God is still at work. His presence is not diminished by our struggles, nor is His love weakened by our doubts. Even when we cannot see the way forward, He is guiding us. Even when we feel abandoned, He is drawing us closer. His timing is not ours to dictate, but it is always flawless. God's timing is often revealed in hindsight. What once felt like an unbearable delay may later be recognized as a necessary period of growth and preparation. The door that remained closed may have been protecting us from something we could not see. The opportunity that was withheld may have been making room for something far greater. Time and again, God proves that His plan is worth the wait. There is a profound peace that comes with trusting in God's timing. It is the peace of knowing that even when life feels uncertain, He is unwavering. It is the peace of recognizing that even when the road ahead is unclear, His guidance is sure. It is the peace of understanding that even when hope feels distant, it is never truly gone. Choosing to trust God's timing is not about ignoring pain or dismissing disappointment. It is about acknowledging those feelings, but choosing to place them in His hands. It is about surrendering our timelines, our expectations, and our desires to the one who sees the bigger picture. It is about embracing the truth that God's timing is not meant to frustrate us, but to bless us in ways beyond our comprehension. God's timing often requires us to wait, but that waiting is never in vain. It is the time of preparation, of growth, of drawing closer to Him. It is the time of building strength and resilience, of learning patience and perseverance. And when the appointed time finally arrives, the blessings that unfold are all the more beautiful for having been waited upon. Sometimes the hardest moments are the ones that precede the greatest breakthroughs. Just when you feel like giving up, when everything feels like it is falling apart, God may be orchestrating something extraordinary. The night is often darkest just before dawn, but dawn always comes. What seems like an ending is often the beginning of something new, something greater than you could have imagined. Hope is not found in the absence of trials, but in the assurance that God is with you through them all. It is the confidence that His timing is perfect even when it feels painfully slow. It is the trust that no matter how bleak the present may seem, there is something greater on the horizon. And when you place your hope in God, you can rest in the knowledge that His plans for you are good, His timing is flawless, and His love is unending.